Hey everybody, going to show you cable rail today, and we've done a few cable rails in the past. If you've seen either one of the Dolphin Island Beach House videos on my page, they both have a lot of cable rail, and so today we're going for a sleeker cable rail. Those are pretty big posts. These are 2" by 2" by 1/8" wall steel, and we've gotten very sleek on our swages. I hate seeing these with turnbuckles. A lot of the videos on YouTube are using turnbuckles, and that's just this big piece of hardware, and we have a pretty special way to get them really tight with the smaller, tensioners and swages. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to use 119 stainless cable, 3/16 inch. So it's the fatter of the main. A lot of times you'll see people use 1/8 inch. This is a little fatter cable, and the 119 is also a lot more rigid. It's shinier because it's one cable made of 19 smaller cables woven together. The other ones are like, I forget how many, but they're woven and they look more like a rope and they're duller. So you actually get kind of a richer looking cable. It looks stronger. It is stronger. A little harder to work with. It's more rigid, but it's worth it to me. And like I said, we'll get into that. And we're going to use these swages right here, which, this end here will, they unscrew, and this end here will fit right on the cable, swage that on, and then we'll run it through, and all you're going to see is that little Allen key right there. And we have a way to pull that cable really, really taut before we, tension it. So we should have a really good result. This one's also going to get really fancy. We're going to put an LED strip in the bottom of the handrail, so it's really going to pop. But we'll get into the build right now. I'm going to mark these out and start drilling them on the drill press. Much easier. So yeah, stay tuned. Here we go. Okay guys, before I leave the shop and head over to the house to start the actual build and show you all that, I wanted to show you some of the different various parts, link you to the hardware, and kind of go into. I actually have a little piece. One of the cable rails we did down in Dolphin Island, we actually experimented and used the 719, which I'll show you the difference and why I don't like it, even though it's a lot more pliable. And you just see it's more like a rope. You can bend it a lot more. This is really rigid. This is the 119, but I'll bring you in here and I'll show you the difference and why I do not prefer, and I think you should buy the 119, even though it's a little trickier to work with. Come down here and I'll show you all the different fittings and stuff we use. Okay guys, so this is the 119, which is what it is. It's a single cable made up of 19 smaller wires, stainless wires. And you can see the end. You can actually cut it pretty easily with a grinder. And I'm just going to grab my lineman pliers and just show you what happens if you have a really bad cut and it gets all frayed like that, right? That's bad, okay? But you can generally grab it and twist it back together. See that? And you can get the swage on it. The swages are super tight, but yet once you do that, you can generally get a swage on. If you go to cut this is 719. And what that is, if you see all the smaller wires, this is all frayed. But what it is, it's 7 cables like this made up of 19 tiny wires. It makes it way more flexible, way easier to bend, okay? So you're gonna think that that's gonna make it easier to deal with. But the way we've had to do it is we've had to use like these Southwire cable cutters, which will instantly get kind of gnarled up because stainless, they're not made to cut stainless, and to get cable cutters that are is going to be pretty expensive. So that's the first drawback. Secondly, if they get frayed like this, you're not going to get them to twist back together good enough to get a swage on it very easily. And we've done it, it's possible, but it's just a lot more work. And again, and to me, I'm going to put them side by side. I don't think they look as good. You see the 119 is shinier, it's just sleeker. They're the exact same diameter, but other than it just being a little more rigid and a little harder to fish around corners, it's a better looking cable. So that's the one. I'm going to link you guys to the 119 because I just think the 719 is not worth it. And then I'm going to show you the differences in the hardware real quick. Okay guys, so down in Dolphin Island, we were pretty proud of these at the time and of the other cables I've done. So you see these kind of long swages. They're about 4 inches long. This one here has a nut to cap it to make it look pretty, I guess. And then it's got these nuts. And this will be the drawback I'm going to show you to these. These are not that bad. They've got a nice long swage part that will give you plenty of grab onto the cable. However, they don't have a lot of bite on the nut itself. And with stainless, and I'll show you this other one. So that one, the trim out is that round nut. This one comes with a little vinyl washer and a metal washer, and look how thin that is. Okay, it's maybe like let me see if I can count. It's like 4 threads thick. So the problem is when you're actually trying to put a lot of tension on this thing, you only have 4 threads pulling. And with stainless, you tend to get it bound and it'll just sort of seize, and then you're kind of done. Whether you're tight or not, that's all you're gonna get. And they kind of strip out. So I'm gonna bring you to what I'm using now, and I'm so much happier with it. So I've shown you this, I'll show it to you a couple more times through the video. It's a much sleeker deal, but the cool thing is you don't have as much swage, but you got plenty. You got an 1.5 inches or so to grab the cable. This thing here is threaded all the way. I mean, it's gotta be 30 threads. It's 1 inch long or so. I mean, I think it's like 32 threads per inch. So when it bites, it's just spreading that force out over more threads. It's way less likely to cause a bind or a seize up or get stripped. So like I said, we're gonna have such good luck with these. We're actually gonna bow the posts later in the video and have to release a little bit of pressure off of them. So anyway, I just wanted to show you all of the hardware real quick. So that's all the hardware. Like I said, the link is down in the description to all of this stuff. I'll also link some of the tools that I will be showing you later in the video. So there'll be a pretty good list of links to all of the gear to make cool cable rails. And I will take you into the job site and show you the build now. Okay, so what we're going to do over here today is, now that we've got all of our posts drilled out and fabricated at the shop, all the ones in the field have a hole that's 1/16 inch bigger than the cable, so they'll be very sleek. The ones on the ends that accept the hardware have a 11/32 hole, so that they just slide, they allow all that to slide through. And then we fabricated these pieces of sheet metal into like a sort of a large J, as you can see here. And what that's trying to emulate is a rec tube, as if this was a structural beam. And so what we're doing is we're going to create a wooden curb. You can see we've trimmed away the sheetrock, and we're going to snap it around the wooden curb to give us something to weld to. It's not structural. It's just when we paint it all black, it'll look like a rectangular tube, which we have other places in the house that are structural. So I'm going to get that going. First thing we're going to do today is finish the little bit of wood curbing on this railing, and then we'll get to the two behind me there. We're going to do that, and then we're going to start putting the metal in, and then we'll start tacking the posts into place. If we get that done, we may put the top rail on. I don't know that's all we'll get there today, but that's what I'm working on right now. Okay, guys, so the first time lapse here is just me doing a lot of metal fab work. I was solo this day, so we were just kind of getting everything cut and put into place, tack it, get all the posts put on. And then the second clip, after I get all of this fabbed together, will be of the painting process. And on that day, my partner on the swimming pool, Zach, he came over and brought one of his guys, and they used an Amerlock 2 epoxy coat. And he's really good at all the tedious paint work that I just don't have the patience for. So I usually build it and then he makes it look good. But really recommend the Amerlock 2 epoxy. You can get it at Spectrum Paint, and we've used it down in Dolphin Island, and it is, I mean, those rails are over 5 years old. We haven't had any issues with the paint or any rusting. But like I said, it didn't really show this stuff in great detail because depending on what kind of railing you're doing, it may not be relevant. You might be doing wood posts or anything else. So really the rail system itself is up to you. This video is more to accentuate the cables and the hardware itself. Okay, guys, now that Zach's got the Amerlock 2 epoxy coat on the metal, we're ready to string the cable rail, which, as you can see, I've already been doing, but I kind of wanted to just get into detail about what we're using. I will post the link, the Amazon link, for all of our parts. Go ahead and run this through, because this middle hole is not big enough to run the swage fitting through. We made it as sleek as possible, but once we get that done, this is our swage fitting right here. You see a lot of these videos on YouTube where they're using big turnbuckles and ugly hardware. And so this is our swage. It's 2 pieces. It's got a little Allen drive that tensions it. And it's all you got to do once you get the cut. It's very snug. That's what I mean about the cuts have to be really good. So once you get that on there, nice and bottomed out, we're going to take this swager. It's a lot like a crimping tool for pecs, but a lot more heavy duty. And we're just going to swage that on. Turn it 90 degrees and do it again. Up the shaft a little bit. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do is to leave a little allowance for future tensioning. On this side, we won't tension it right now. I'm going to run it all the way through. And you can kind of come over here and see how I'll leave it. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with about 3 threads, which is, about, it's 1/4 to 5/16 of tensioning. Now, my holes are very tight, tighter than they need to be. There they went. Okay. So, now, I'm going to grab another swage tensioner. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to pull this tight. Whoop. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to give it a little room for tensioning, and I'm going to hold it up here exactly where it's going to go when it's bottomed out. And I'm going to mark it. Obviously, I can't pull as tight as this thing's going to pull, but I'm close enough. Because like I said, I got, almost 3/8 of an inch of tension down there, and I'll have the same here. So that's plenty of room to really suck it up tight. This is such a short run, I'm able to do it without my pullers. When I get over here, I'll show you, we've got these fancy cable pullers that enables us to get it really tight. But I can, like I said, because this is 119, I can cut it with a grinder real easy. Okay. And you can see it kind of comes frayed a little bit, but I can just take these pliers and just round it back together, and it will just, they all lay back together as they should. Which, like I said, I would always get the 119. It looks better, feels a little bit stronger. The 719, like I said, might seem a little more workable, especially if you're going around a bunch of corners, but it's still a little warm. Let's see. All right, there she goes. All right, now that's on. I'll grab the swage. Kind of nice to use the ground as a mechanical advantage when you're doing this by yourself. All right, so now take this end off. I'll run it in as far as it'll go, and I think we just made contact. Now, get the Allen key. Yeah, she's going in. Okay, now, don't want to scratch it or anything, but because of that swage, I can get a hold of it and lock it in pretty good. You just watch that. Okay. Yeah, like I said, they're good and tight. So that's how we do it. I'll show you on the longer runs how we pull them tight around corners and stuff here in a minute. Okay, guys, this is a longer run, and it has a 90-degree turn in it. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick, and then that's basically cable rail in a nutshell. I've shown you pretty much all of it. So what we're going to do is you always start in the first opening, because we'll put the swage on back here after the fact, and we're just going to, these here are very tight, and we're just going to run them through. You almost have to look, because if you make the holes as tight as we do, you don't have a lot of play. But the corner, we actually use the bigger drill bit, which is like for the swage fittings. And like I said, if you remember from earlier in the video, I showed you how rigid the 119 is. I'm going to try not to fray it, but I'm going to try to get a good bend on it, which is tricky. And once I do, see, I can just get a little kink on it, try to get it rolled back up into itself, and then see if I can get it to walk around this corner for me. And I might be getting lucky here because I can see it. Oh, I lost it. Okay guys, so what I ended up having to do on this one, it's really tough to get around these tight corners in a 2x2 post. The bigger the post, the easier it is to fish through. But I'll show you what I did. After getting that hard bend on it, it frayed. And once it's frayed, it's not gonna go through the hole very nice. But you can see the bend I've got on it, and I bent it to about here, and then I trimmed off all the fray to where I had a nice small hole. And now I'm through the corner, so I'm in business. Real quick, I'm gonna chop this off where it's straight again, keep it all tight, and run it all the way over to the far end and put the swage on it. And then I'm gonna show you kind of how we pull it tight around the corners. And then that's pretty much everything you need to know on cable rail. Okay guys, so I've got this swage on the end of that last run. You can kind of see it just dangling right here. And these swages, or these fittings, are so good. You know, I showed you earlier different fittings that we use that tend to bind because the nut is so small. But these are so good. We're actually getting them so tight without these that we're actually bowing the outer posts. We're actually gonna have to relax them a little bit. So, but I wanna show you, if you're doing a big long cable rail, you got wood posts or beefier posts where you can really put some tension on it. These are called cable pullers. They're super cool. So when you push them in, they open up a jaw, and it enables you to put it on like so. Then you can hook a ratchet strap to this, and when you do, the harder you pull, the harder it clamps down. So if I came right here and put it on this guy, if I can just get it to stay, okay, then I put a ratchet. You want to be careful if you got painted posts or whatever, but the more you pull, the tighter. You can see it getting tight right there. Then I have another one, and I'll go to that end and just suck it around the corner. Again, I've actually got a little bow in this corner already. I'm not gonna need to do that, but we use them a lot. You know my Dolphin Island videos that I linked you to a minute ago, we used these on every single one because the run had 390s and went downstairs on one run. And the more you turn it, the more you're gonna have slack, and you're just gonna have too much cable that the threads on the swage fittings aren't enough to tighten up. So you'll need something like this. I'll link this. Like I said, I'll link all the stuff in the video, every single part of this and why we use that. So anyway, I'll be back right in just a minute. I'm gonna finish this one up and show you the finished product, and we'll see you later. Okay guys, that is cable rail in a nutshell. It's all finished up. We've got more to do on the stairs when we do the stairs. But remember, everything in this video, every tool you need to do this, and the cable and the swage fittings are all in the description below. So feel free to click on those. And don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so you get notified when I post more videos. But anyway, I will see you guys next time.